Sarah's Stampin' Retreat. Today we're going to be using this Sweet as a Peach stamp set to make 5 different cards. You might have seen my 5 ways with video a few weeks ago using this stamp set as well. So today we're going to be using very similar products, so if you've got all the products from that then you'll be able to do this and vice versa. But today we're going to do more techniques. So for my first card today I'm going to use this leaves stamp, and both these peaches and these flowers can sit into these leaves, so we'll be using both of those today, but for this one we're going to be using the peaches. So I'm going to have this, I'm going to stick this across the bottom at the end, so I'm going to stamp down to about here. And I think the easiest way to pick up this leaf piece is to put the block over it, so that you make sure that it doesn't kind of distort, because you could easily kind of put it on like that or something. I'm going to be using my Pear Pizzazz ink, and I'm just going to stamp this all over this card front. And like I said, I don't need to worry about this bottom bit, so I'm going to leave that like that. Then I'm going to use these little peaches, and first I'm going to stamp them all over with the pale papaya ink. So I'm just lining up the top of the peaches with the stems. There's an almighty thunderstorm started outside. You might be able to hear a bit of that in the background. So this is the kind of thing that we did in the video that I did last time, but this time we're going to step it up a bit. So we're going to take our sponge dauber, we're going to dab it on the Calypso Coral, and then I'm just going to dab that onto the stamp just on one side, and then I'm going to stamp that over the top of these peaches. And you can see then you get that really lovely two-tone look, and you can see that those look much more lifelike than these flat ones. So I'm just going to keep doing that again and again, and I'm inking up the side of the peach that has the like the line on it. And because we're putting it on with a sponge dauber as well, it means that it blends nicely with the ink that we've already got on. And because you can see through the stamp as well, then it's easy to see where the ones below are to be able to put it on top. So there are our gorgeous peaches, and I'm just going to pop these 2 layers across the bottom. And this is about 1/4 of an inch piece. So this is Calypso Coral, and the Calypso Coral piece is about 1 3/4 inches wide, and then this piece of Pear Pizzazz cardstock is about 1/4 of an inch wide. And I'm just going to chop the edges off there. And then I love this Have a Peachy Day sentiment, so I'm just going to stamp that on this scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock with my Calypso Coral ink. And then I'm just going to go and cut that down. So then I've just cut a piece of Pear Pizzazz cardstock that is 1/4 of an inch larger than my sentiment. I'm just going to stick that onto there, and then I'm just going to use some dimensionals on the back to add it to my card. So that's our first card. For our second card we're going to be using the same technique but on the large peach. So I've got 3 pieces of cardstock here that each measure 2 1/4 inches square. So we have got a full-on thunderstorm going on outside, so you can probably hear that. It is mental. So I hope you can hear me over all the madness going on outside. So I'm just going to stamp my peaches, and I need to leave room for the leaves on the top. So I'm going to stamp one on each piece. So then I'm going to add on my Calypso Coral again, and again I'm just going to add it down this side that's got the line down it. And I'm going to stamp that over the top. So I'm going to grab the leaves and I'm just going to add some leaves to each one as well. So then I'm just going to add those on top of, so these are 2.5-inch pieces of Calypso Coral cardstock. So this is a DL card blank that I've made out of thick basic white cardstock, and it measures 3 7/8 inches by 8 1/4 inches. And I'm going to be putting these across here. And I've got 3/4 inch pieces of Calypso Coral cardstock, and I'm going to glue them across. So I'm just going to pop some dimensionals on the back of these peaches. And I've got a small strip of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm just going to stamp the happy birthday across it. So I'm going to stamp that in the Pear Pizzazz ink. So then I'm just going to glue this onto a piece of Calypso Coral cardstock that is 1/4 inch bigger. And I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. And I'm going to pop that one down there. That's that card finished. So then for my third card, I wanted to do similar to what we did with the peaches, but we're going to use the flowers, and I'll show you how to do similar with that. So we're going to stamp all the way over this piece of cardstock. So this is 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. I'm just going to stamp all the way over that with the Pear Pizzazz ink again. And so then we're going to do the same with the flowers as we did with the peaches. So we're just going to pop those on. The biggest one kind of goes at the bottom of the set, and you're just lining up the flowers with each of these stems. And then I'm going to grab my sponge dauber again, and I'm going to get it into that Calypso Coral again, and this time I'm just going to dab a little bit of the Calypso Coral in the centre of each flower. And you can see it just adds that extra kind of dimension and that extra bit of colour to each of the flowers. And then we're going to go an extra step with this, and we're just going to stamp this little piece here, just in the centre of each of the flowers. And I'll just lift it again. Did you see how that just really adds some texture and dimension to those flowers? Makes them look that little bit kind of more lifelike. So I'm just going to mount this onto my Calypso Coral cardstock. So then I've just got a piece of Whisper White cardstock that's 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4 inches, and a piece of Calypso Coral that's 1 inch by 3 3/4 inches. I've just stamped on here with the Pear Pizzazz ink. So now I'm just going to glue my layers together. And I can just stick that across there. And then we're done with that one. That looks really cute. Then for our final 2 cards, we're going to do some masking. So this next one's going to be a really simple one. So first of all, we're going to create our masks. So I'm just going to stamp I want 2 masks. So this is just some masking sheet. Or you can use post-it notes as well. So I'm going to make 2 masks, each of the peach and the leaves, and I'm going to do them separately because since we stamp them as 2 separate things, you can never exactly tell where you're going to stamp them, so they need to be 2 separate bits. And I'm just cutting them really close to the edge, but they are really simple shapes to cut out, so it shouldn't be too much difficulty. And I'm just cutting really close to the edge. So now I've got my masks. So I'm going to start with the stamping now. So I'm going to just do the stamping the same way I did before. So I'm going to take my purple papaya first. I'm just going to stamp that down in this corner. And then I'm going to grab this and put that over the top. And then I'm going to stamp my green ink as well. So then I'm going to grab one of my masks, and I'll take the backing off, and I'm going to put that on there. And then I'm going to take one of the leaf masks, pop that over the top of the leaf as well. So the thing that you mask off first is going to be the thing that looks like it's at the front when you finish doing the stamping. So let's do the peach that's next to it. So I'm just going to lap that over the first peach a little bit, like that. Then I'm going to do the same again with this and just add some Calypso Coral down here. Stamp that over the top. You want to stamp this nice and firmly next to the stamp. Sorry, next to the mask. And then let's pop on some leaves again. And then I'm going to put a mask over this one as well. And then I'm just going to add this third one. So this is going to look like it's sitting behind the other 2. So I'm going to stamp it just here. And then I'm going to grab my green. And I'm going to stamp that on top. So then I'm just going to take my masks off. And you can use these masks again. I usually store them inside my case. You can actually see I've already got a couple in here from something different that I was doing. I can use those again. And then I'm just going to stamp Happy Birthday across in my Memento black ink. And then I'm going to take these little flowers and I'm just going to stamp some of those in the pale papaya around the outside. And then I'm also going to use some of these adhesive sequins, which are from this Expressions in Ink ephemera pack. And I'm just going to dot a few of those around as well. So there's a really cute simple card. And then for my final card today, we're going to do some more masking. So I've got a card mat here. So this is 3 7/8 inches by 5 5/8 inches. And I'm just going to pop this piece of masking sheet is 1.5 by 3 1/4 inches. And I'm going to pop that right in the middle. Then I'm going to take my big peach and I'm going to use my pale papaya ink just to stamp that around, and I'm going to stamp it and then I'm going to stamp it off and I'm going to overlap the two. Then I'm going to add on my Calypso coral. And again, I'm just going to stamp that off next to it. And then I'm going to go in again with my leaves. So Pep's as ink again. And I'm just going to stamp them on. So then I'm going to take this masking sheet off. You can see it's lovely and white in the middle. And then I'm going to go with my Pep's as ink again. I'm going to pop in Happy Birthday. And then I'm going to pop It's Your Day underneath. Then I'm going to pop that onto my Pep's as card black. And we're done. So then these are all the cards that we made today. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe to see future videos. All the products that we've used for today's cards are linked in the description below, and you can also find a host code there. If you pop the host code into your basket before you check out, then I'll send you a free gift after the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.